So tell us, what is that felt sense, and why this sense of presence with our body is part of the healing work that you describe?
I learned the word felt sense before, or the phrase before I knew where it came from. And I was really surprised when I researched to find out where it came from, that it came from a psychological model. And it came from some research that was saying, why does some therapy work and other therapy doesn't work? And I'm like, $1 million question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Love to know the answer to that. And what they found was that the people who were actually quote unquote getting better, which I think means feeling better, feeling more content in their lives, feeling there was some kind of resolution with who they are and what they're meant to do in the world, was that as they spoke, they were speaking from a felt sense experience. And the way that the interviewer knew that that was happening was that they were speaking slowly and they were describing things that they hadn't described before. So you could tell by the way that they were speaking that it was alive to them in that moment. So
Mm.
if they said, I'm sad, and the interviewer said, well, tell me more about that, they would say, well, it's kind of like I've got a weight on my shoulders. And if there was like water that was sitting between one arm to the other, it feels like it's, mid-level turbulence. And they could just describe from a quote unquote felt sense, which means in that moment what they're feeling, not a record of what they were feeling. So you probably do this when you help people with
Mhm.
meditation, because people oftentimes, if they come to me or they come to you for a session, they're usually there to solve a problem. They're there because they don't feel good and they want to feel better. Okay, totally normal. We've all done it. That's why we seek help most of the time. You don't feel good and then go, yeah, I'm going to give myself more support. That would be awesome. And I am learning how to do that, but it's not usually what happens. So then people will say, well, they'll tell you, well, I feel this and I feel that. And the question is, are you feeling that right now?
Mhm. Yeah.
And then sometimes the answer is yes. Most of the time the answer is no. And then it's like, okay, well, what are you feeling right now? And not it could be a feeling, emotion, or it could be a sensation.
Mhm.
What is the sensation? And sensation language tends to be in the present moment. And it's not really controvertible, because you could tell somebody you're angry, and then we have this language from the 80s that's like, let me feel my feelings, and like no one can invalidate my feelings. But the thing is that you could say you're angry and not appear angry whatsoever. I think lots
Mhm.
of people have this experience. I mean, I had a whole relationship where I kept telling the person that I was angry, but because I wasn't embodying anger, they didn't listen to me,
Mm.
because it was like I didn't seem angry and I wasn't culturally coded as angry in a way they could recognize. So I wasn't getting the response. And we have this, like, you know, white puritanical culture that says like it's best to like not be emotional and
Mhm.
describe how you feel, and then don't be volatile, or like with your kids, don't lose your temper and don't do this. But it's also some of the time good to
But
just
that
really be what you are
and it's
and
not as
show what you
effective.
are.
It's really interesting that, because that's not as effective, and some of the things I have to coach people in mindful parenting is, like, when they're describing how they feel, and like, show me with your face what you're feeling. Like, when you say this in a super calm way, like, that seems fake because 'cause you're not showing it to me, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it doesn't seem, there's no eros behind it, right? There's no
Mhm.
power that's coming behind it. And as long as we're talking about parenting a little bit, we tend to think that like we feel like we've got to protect our children from those big feelings.
Mhm.
But
A lot.
really, we help them develop their platform of okayness by being able to respond to all different kinds of feelings and situations, and know that they're okay and that the relationship is still intact. It sounds like you're doing exactly what I help people do, which is
Mhm.
coordinate response. So to me, I like the word coherence. Some people like the word congruence, but for me, coherence is like a bell tone that's like crystal clear. And the way you hit a crystal clear bell tone, you coordinate your facial expressions, the tone of your words, actually like where your voice is on the register, it's called prosody, and then your facial expressions, your affect, and your body language. That's how someone listens to you. And you get the response you're hoping for.
Catch new episodes of the Mindful Mama podcast and other free resources, including the Mindful Mom Guide at mindfulmamamentor.com. You can listen to every back catalog episode, including interviews with Dr. Dan Siegel, Ianla Van Zant, Sharon Salzberg, and get meditations, join our private Facebook group, and more. Go to mindfulmamamentor.com now. I'll see you there.